Welcome in to another episode number 2 of Two Guys and a Beer. Andy Beckstrom along with Sean Field here for another episode as we work our way through probably our favorite part right here. I mean, it was in the intro, but that was the live and in-person version.
Yeah, that's a great intro right there.
So
it sounds more authentic.
Exactly.
Live, a live beer crack.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like live music better than, like a generic thing? It's so good. We're doing a one that I think we're both a little familiar with, and I'm sure you probably out there are. New Belgium, a Fat Tire is what we're going to start with today. So you've had Fat Tire before. Enjoy what they got to offer?
Oh, yeah, I sure have. I've had Fat Tire quite a few times. It's a great beer. I love it. It's a little bit of a darker beer, of course, but it is very tasty.
Yeah, it's a pretty solid one. New Belgium, they've branched out a lot more recently with a handful of things, but it's definitely grown from their humble beginnings, I guess you could say. On the can, you see 1991. Kim and Jeff, I don't have the name here. I'll get the name here in a little bit, but Kim and Jeff were the owners.
I like Kim and Jeff.
They were quite fantastic.
Great people.
Yeah. March of 91, they installed brewing equipment in the basement of their Fort Collins home in Colorado.
Really?
So started in the basement. So
well, that's interesting.
Like so many probably have, and not many have grown since then.
It's a familiar story, I suppose. Yeah.
Right. It started apparently as kind of the Fat Tire came from, they had done a bike ride in Belgium. So that was where the New Belgium and the Fat Tire, that all kind of came from that ride. What you're doing on a bike ride, and you're like, you know what, I want to start something, like with beer. Okay.
The bike ride was in Belgium?
Yep.
As in the country?
Yep. It was, let's see here if I can get to the right place here.
They're just biking through Belgium and decided beer is their calling.
Yep. That was the route that they were going to go, inspired by a bike ride.
Were they on a Fat Tire bike? Did they have those bikes back then?
That's a good point. I don't know that they did. I feel like that's more of a recent thing, maybe.
Yeah, probably.
I don't know. I don't know much.
Make for a good story.
That's true. Yeah, I don't know much about Fat Tire bikes. Really, I've seen them. I've heard that they do really well in snow. But
they're light.
There you go.
Lift them with a hand.
Let's see here. Kim, one of the owner, inspired a lot of the core values. Inspired. She was a social worker, so kind of inspired kind of some of the core values to try to give back or something with that. Kim became the first bottler and sales rep, financial planner, and everything, eventually scaling it into a huge brewery, naturally. But Kim did basically everything. It sounds like maybe Jeff did more of the brewing, but Kim was, kind of the big thing.
It almost sounds like Moosehead all over again, though. The woman takes the lead and starts brewing the beer and handling business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So it's kind of, it's what we're learning here is we should just turn everything over.
Just let women do everything. Mm-hmm. I think it's time. Men have had the past 2,000 years. Let's give the next 2,000 to women.
Absolutely.
Equal rights.
I think it's a fantastic idea. In the meantime, June of 91, they make 2 beers. Fat Tire was one of them, and then a Belgian-style double called Abbey. And both at the Colorado Brew Festival did well. In 93, Abbey Ale wins a gold award for the specialty category because Belgian-style beers were so rare that they didn't even have their own category. So it actually beat other beers in a more generic category.
Wow, so Belgian-style beer is relatively new then.
Yeah, at that time in the early mid-90s, there just wasn't a lot out there. I mean, there's a little bit more now, but it definitely was not real prevalent at that time.
So they created a whole new category of beer, essentially.
Yeah.
Isn't there beer in Belgium?
Yeah, it's a Belgian-style beer, so it's popular there. But as far as U.S. brands,
as far as over here,
they didn't have much with that.
I was going to say the Belgians are behind the times,
right?
I got it. Got it. In America,
got it. They outgrew by 95 and got a new production facility just down the street. New Belgium in 99, my graduating year, January 99. I didn't graduate in January. It was more later than that.
Malacca Wolf.
They decided to do a new tradition of a 1999 Electra Cruiser bicycle. Every single employee on their 1-year anniversary gets a free bike.
Interesting.
It's an interesting kind of,
Is it an electric bike? Or is that the color?
I think it's just a regular bike, electric. It's an electric cruiser, so I don't know. I'd have to. Maybe it is, but I would assume that it's probably just a regular one, but I don't
We
know.
might have to Google that and see what an electric cruiser bike is. In fact, I'll do that here.
There we go. I'll carry on in early 2000. The sour brown ale is bottled and sold. So they start venturing out using French oak barrels. They start venturing out into a lot of different things. And then summer of 2003, we talked a little bit about previously about some of the stuff that you're doing at your house. In 2003, they started their own in-house sustainability corporation and started doing solar panels and different things for environmental change, including also a wastewater treatment facility on site as well. So trying to kind of create themselves to be self-sustainable. In August of 2009, they implement what was at the time the largest private solar array in the state of Colorado, generating 3% of electricity and 16% of the peak load. So they're still generating a ton of electricity just for the state of Colorado, not just for their brewery.
Wow. So they generate 3% of the entire state's electricity.
That's what it says. 3% of total electricity needs and 16% of peak load. So even when things get real hot and heavy in the afternoon, sun beating down, they're turning that energy back and being able to kind of give back to the state and energy efforts. December 2012, I think you'd probably, like this as well, becomes 100% employee owned. The staff buys the remaining ownership from Kim Jordan and her family, and goes from 41% ownership to 100% ownership, 457 coworkers. So completely employee owned at that time.
So the two don't even own it anymore.
No, they didn't own it, but they were still involved. I'm sure they had a 1% stake or
some kind of
whatever,
contract or some legal stuff.
Still part of the thing. Then they opened another location on the East Coast in Asheville, just to kind of bring some variety to the East Coast. They interviewed Kim. Was still involved in things. Was at NPR for How I Built This, and had a unique interview talking about how she rose from from the basement to how big it is with that unique business model.
It's pretty crazy. It took 91 to 94. They were in their basement for 3 years, and they already got that big wow.
Just exploded since then.
That's pretty awesome.
However, I don't know that this is necessarily a negative thing, just more of a different thing. January of 2020, so just a couple years ago, New Belgium employees vote in favor of Lion Little World Beverage acquiring New Belgium Brewing with a commitment to continuing the Force for Good mission. So bought out, now owned by Lion Little World, but they still are called New Belgium, and they still have their own deal, and they're still continuing what they've done to be able to do that.
Well, did all those employee owners get a share of that, I wonder?
I would assume so, since they're all equal shared owners at that point.
I wonder if that's similar to how the Green Bay Packers do their ownership thing with the fans over there. I wonder if it was kind of the same thing for this Belgium-style Fat Tire stuff.
Right. Yeah. It's got to be something close to that.
There's another sports team, not to get too off the topic here, this awesome beer. Just recently, another sports team had done that. Oh, who was it? No, I can't think, but you can buy, the Atlanta Braves. You can buy shares of the Atlanta Braves stock.
Okay.
And own part of it that way.
Okay. So from, is it Ted Turner? It was one of the Turners. I don't know. I don't even know if he's still alive, if he still owns them or not, or if maybe that's why it became kind of a ownership thing. But kind of interesting. Maybe I'll have to get some shares in Atlanta Braves stock and send Ronnie Lott a card for falling off of first base at 91.
Yeah, he fell off all right. Kent Herbeck had no sway in that.
Definitely
whatsoever.
not nudged even a little bit. And then to kind of wrap up New Belgium, after nearly 3 decades, in August 2020, they are certified carbon neutral. So kind of an interesting introspective and a history of New Belgium beer, and kind of started with the Fat Tire, and that's kind of their OG, I guess, is what the kids call it, the OG. So that was we were talking a little bit before. This Fat Tire is one of the first beers that when you're kind of younger and you're kind of dabbling into well, let's try what this drinking thing is all about. What do I like? And, I got to be the cool kid that, does whatever. And it's like, okay, well, you're drinking Coors Light and, Keystone and, whatever's cheap because you're also still a kid and whatever.
You don't know what good beer tastes like yet. You're still drinking that garbage.
Exactly.
Not that those are necessarily garbage, but
it depends on what you're looking for.
Yeah.
Like if I'm going to be mowing the lawn or playing softball or something like that, I'm going to get a flat of Mick Golden. You know what I mean? We're going to be rolling Coors Lights all day,
Yeah.
After bowling, like to go to the Moose Lodge and have about 6 or 17 Busch Lights. Kind of time and place depends on, so to a certain extent, which interestingly enough, another tangent Tuesday on a Monday, there was a interview that I had read at one point in time we're talking to Pete Coors, the Coors label. And it took, God, what was it? Something like 8 or 10 years of people convincing him that Blue Moon could succeed. He was like, absolutely not. I just don't understand how people can drink one beer. If I'm going to go out and mow the lawn, I want to have like 3 beers and then have another one after I'm done admiring my work. And like he wanted, like his idea is it's refreshing. It's not an alcoholic thing, more of a refreshing, light, easy drinking beer where you could have, of course, I mean, that's also a sales thing. If you drink 12 of them today, you got to buy another case tomorrow,
Right.
So it's
kind of the point is to make money.
And so the Blue Moon brand never really got a lot of advertising, never really got a lot of support. And he was going to pull the plug on it constantly. And finally, like after many years, it just boomed and succeeded and just kind of popped up out of nowhere. And he was kind of like, well, I guess we can let it exist, So he never really was a big fan of that. So, but yeah, I was probably kind of the same way. You know what I mean? Like you said, when you're younger, you don't have that refined palate. Get into something else. But yeah, this Fat Tire was a family friend had kind of tried to introduce me a little bit, and I tried it, and I'm like, ooh, this is gross. This is really not good. But it's one of those that I actually came back to.
Yeah.
I didn't just like, oh, this is gross and that's it. It was, well, we'll see. And then my buddy Tony showed up to a party that I had when I was younger and brought Killian's Irish Red, and the rest is history for me. And it's been down that rocky path the entire time since then.
Yeah, just like you said, Fat Tire was one of the first couple that I tried probably in my mid-20s that was different than a Coors Light or a Miller Lite. It was turned on to me by a group of friends down in the cities. Actually, I went to, that I actually recall this, why I don't know, but we went to Buffalo Wild Wings there in Coon Rapids, and they had Fat Tire on tap there. And the guy there, his name was Andy. He's like,
sounds like a cool dude.
Right? Yeah, they're all pretty cool. He's like, you ought to try this Fat Tire. And I'm like, okay. So I tried it off the tap there, and I'm like, ugh, I don't know about this. But I kept going back to it too. And now it's a damn good beer. It's one you can never go wrong with. That's for sure.
And their brand, like, I mean, the Fat Tire is obviously a solid one, and they got a handful of other ones. But generally, like when you think New Belgium, you almost think Fat Tire before you think New Belgium. You don't really think like the name. It's more like that was about the only one that they had for the longest time. Last handful of years, they've come out with like the Voodoo Ranger line. So there's like 3-4 like IPA sites, an Imperial, a Juicy Haze, like a bunch of them there. They've almost become almost its own brand there. You talk about Fat Tire being its own thing, like Voodoo Ranger is almost like, for the longest time, I didn't realize it was even from New Belgium. I'm like, well, I'm going to get some Voodoo Ranger, or my brother-in-law, we like to be high level in French. So we call it Voodoo Ranger.
Oh, yeah.
That's what we like to say. Because then it's not just you're drinking Voodoo Ranger.
You put
beer,
your pinky up too.
Absolutely.
Really,
Yeah.
really get it up there.
High classes, that's how we roll. But that Voodoo Ranger line's become kind of its own beast off to the other side, a whole different element of it. So I wonder if that was part of that original ownership group or the original people that were involved, or if that was the new group that took it over, kind of when that started. But it's fantastic stuff, though.
Did you say those original owners was Kim, and I don't even know the guy's name because
Kim and
apparently
Jeff.
Kim does it all. So
Kim and Jeff Jordan.
Are they still involved at all anymore, or is it now just that new company that kind of bought them out?
After they bought it, I wonder if they aren't still kind of
maybe like on the
figureheads.
board, or
Yeah,
have some sort of involvement. Maybe they're in top management with the company or something. Maybe.
Yeah, it just just a quick little Google on it. Co-founders Kim Jordan and Jeff LeBeche. So really, it was just Kim Jordan. I think Jeff was maybe involved, but
we'll give it up for Kim.
Yeah, absolutely. It's pretty much all her. But yeah, it sounds like maybe she's not really involved anymore. It's just involved by somebody else. Which, I mean, hey, if you can build something and you can grow something into something that's worth buying, I guess You know what I mean? If that makes sense, absolutely take advantage of that. And who wouldn't want to have that opportunity? But like, well, I mean, you want to keep part of it. You still want to, especially if you grew it yourself. But at the same time, it's like, all right, well, now I have to never worry about anything. I kind of want to go to visit whatever the Moosehead Brewery, and let's just go. Like, just get in the plane, fly out there. It's not, something you need to worry about. But
yeah, I think that'd be tough, starting a company and then selling it off and not having any part of it, all that work you put into it, But I suppose if the price is right, everything's for sale. It doesn't matter what it is. I don't care who you are or what it is. Everything's for sale for the right price.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah, and I couldn't find anything on the Google machine about these bikes that they gave away. So if there's any listeners out there that has any clue about these bikes, shoot us a message, put it in the comments, a picture or something. Let us know what it is.
It's kind of an interesting thing, that type of bike. I don't know, what it is or where the idea came from. Or maybe it's just something that maybe it's their own bike. Maybe it's not, I don't know.
What if they bought them at Walmart?
I have my doubts. Yeah, I mean, it's possible, but...
Maybe what they're called, Electro? It almost sounds like a color.
Electra. Something. Electric Cruiser.
An Electra Cruiser.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's what it is, but I don't know. I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. I mean, how many places did you work at that, either how many places you work at, you don't get anything. I think, years ago when we worked at a retail fashion, after 1 year, you got like a little sticker is what it was. Yeah. That was kind of the level of what it is. Not that it's nothing,
like
but
an 18-cent raise.
Exactly.
If you were lucky.
I think at this point, I don't know that I even get anything until I get to about 20 years. And then they just kind of verbally acknowledge me and then, all right, get back to work.
Yeah.
But, that's the nature of the beast.
Yeah, you can't complain too much. Employers employ you. They give you a paycheck to do your job.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it is,
Absolutely.
If you find a place that gives you extras, that's great, but they don't have to.
Mm-hmm.
You're there to do a job, and they give you a paycheck for said job. So
take advantage of the opportunity that you can. Why not? Get yourself into whatever position you can to be able to make what you're comfortable with. I guess that's, to a certain extent, that's also part of it too, is, am I willing to make more, but sacrifice. How shady of a person do I have to? I sold cars for like a minute. That's kind of where I'm going with that one a little bit. That was not
right. You did do that.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. I'm not trying to like rag on car salesmen or anything, because they're fine and it's whatever. But
you did that in Pine City at that ID place. Yeah,
exactly.
I forgot you did that.
Some of the people I worked with were really good, and one of them is actually now the sales manager over there. I'd go back and work for him, no problem. But the guy that we worked for at the time or whatever, like 6 months was too much. I just couldn't. It was so shady and everything. He might actually be in jail at this point. I'm not really sure, but it was just an awful, like, you want to talk about every single stereotype falling out of the woodwork. It was, like, everybody's like, oh, it's not like that. It's not going to be like that. It's changed over the years. It's not like it used to be. And I'm like, it was worse than this. Are you kidding me? So yeah, that was, it was a thing, but that's also, like, that's why it only lasted like, a handful of months or whatever. I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, I just can't. If I'm willing to do that, but I'm going to tell somebody that, like, don't buy this thing. It's a piece of crap. Like, I'll help you find something else. Like, let's see if we can't get on the old machine, the old interwebs. Let's find something that's going to work for you. Even if you don't buy it from me, I'm here to be able to help you. And I think that's kind of where that's become now.
That's what it should be. I mean, cars are such a major purchase, and they're so important to people. It's their second largest purchase beyond a house, if you can even afford a house. And they're. People take cars personal, and they're real important to them. It's not just another knickknack in the house. Like, it's more important than that.
Absolutely.
So,
yeah, I don't know. I think, the more, I don't know what experiences you've had more lately. Like, I've had better experiences with salespeople lately. Like, they seem to be more interested in, well, let's see if we have something we can help you with. But if you don't buy something, that's totally fine. But I think you got to make sure that, whoever you're paying is, like, they're not, like, living paycheck to paycheck on a non-sales kind of thing, like, or be able to have the volume that you can do that. But I don't know. I feel like it's been a much better experience since then, but I'm also on the receiving end of it. So maybe they're just better than I was.
Yeah, I think salespeople are less pushy now.
Mm-hmm.
They still throw in their verbs and their adjectives. And I'm like, oh, okay, he's just trying to sell me something. But that is their job too. Mm-hmm. But they do seem a little more helpful than just buy this now. We have 30% off today only.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
I'll get it 30% off a month from now if I want. You
Exactly. Here, let's go for a test drive. You just fill out this form here real quick. I'll drop it off with finance. Like it's not quite like that
know?
as much
Just
anymore.
sign here, date here, initial these 3 spots, and you'll be set.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank
yeah.
you, sir.
What's my interest rate? You don't need to worry about that. We'll get you all set.
I will
find
make
you
sure
the-
your payment is right where it needs to be.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And it might last for 36 years, but like the payment will be right in the sweet spot.
Right where you need it. Yeah.
So, yeah, that was an interesting time. But yeah, I mean, find something you like, find something you're willing to do, and sometimes even sacrifice some of that just to pearls of wisdom from Andy tonight is what's happening. I promise I've only had a half of a fat tire. I'm not getting too deep into it just yet. So I did want to ask you, did have a kind of a question about some news that I had read over the last week, or maybe it was longer than that or whatever, but wanted to kind of get kind of your general take and what your feelings are on it. Do you do much gambling at all?
And then not a ton. I do enjoy gambling. I love the atmosphere. I love going to a casino. I love the sights, the sounds, the lights,
Right.
people watching, but I don't gamble a whole lot because I never win.
Right. You
But
don't go in and like drop like $500 and
No.
just like,
No,
like I'm
but-
just trying to comp a room kind of bit or anything like
Not
that.
at all. The atmosphere, though, I do like because I am going to Vegas here in a week, and I've probably been there 8-9 times now.
Mhm.
Like, I just love it down there.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vegas is quite fantastic.
Yeah.
I'm kind of the same way though. Like I don't, like I think the last time I went to Vegas, like, I don't know, I think I brought a couple $100 with, like, we were there for 4 days. I'm like, I'm not spending a ton of money. I'm just the bare minimum, we'll do a little bit here, a little bit there. And I think the first day I won like $800 or something. So we just went to a bunch of shows at that point in time.
And you can do that down there.
Mhm.
I mean, not so much now. Like, it's changed a lot. From the
Yeah.
first time I went there, you could go there with nothing and have a good time.
Mhm.
You can't really do that anymore.
It's,
but
it's a little different now.
It's still a good time down there.
So, and I dabble in a little bit, I mean, I don't do a ton, like I said, like if I go to the casino here, $20-$40 or something like that.
Yeah.
If you have the Powerball or the Mega Millions is high, I'll go and throw $10-$20 or something foolishly, but still, why not? Why not win $1 billion? It'd be kind of fun to do.
Yeah, we were just up there maybe roughly a month ago. My wife and I went up there. We went to back to the 90s tour. And
Okay.
of course, the headliner of the second night was Vanilla Ice, who's awesome, by the way. If you've never seen Vanilla Ice live, you're missing out. The dude is so good. He's so awesome. He's so much fun. It's just amazing. Well, anyways, when we were in there gambling, Jeff and Shelly came with us. Jeff was gambling on the Buffalo machine. He put in $100 and was winning. And I'm like, this is ridiculous. Like, good for him. But I guarantee you, when I put in money, I'm not going to win. So I went to a different Buffalo machine, put in $100. Within an hour, I lost it all. Well, he's over there just winning. I'm like, of course. So it worked out great for him, but not so great for me. But
Right. Side note, I actually know the drummer for Vanilla Ice.
yeah, he's from Pine City.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's, do you know the guy I started broadcasting with? It's his son.
I don't remember. Really?
Yeah. So I've
You mean
actually,
when you at KBK?
Yeah, when I
you were,
very first started.
apprenticing for that.
yep.
That's his son.
That's his son. He was like, I knew him.
Really?
I knew him when he was a high school kid, like playing the quint toms or whatever for the pep
name
band, trying to
Trent?
help.
Trent. Yeah.
Yeah, trying
I
to
knew
do
he-
all that sorts of
His
stuff or
drummer
whatever.
was from Pine City. He did drum in Theory of a Dead Man for a minute too. If you didn't know that.
Yeah, he's a super nice guy.
Yeah.
Just a very down to earth person. Like he looks like, I mean, he's got the little mohawk and
Yeah.
like he's got kind of that vibe or whatever. But you talk to him or whatever, and he's just a very down to earth, easygoing guy. Super
so
nice.
Ty
guy.
is his father.
Mhm.
That is interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did find out too. He doesn't tour with Vanilla Ice. I mean, he does the tour.
Yeah.
But he flies back to Minneapolis. He stays in Minneapolis, and every date, like he'll fly out and do the show and come back. And actually, Vanilla Ice, his name is Rob Van Winkle. If you didn't know that, he actually comes to Pine City and hangs out with him and his family.
Yep.
He went to the Pine County Fair last year, and Vanilla Ice was hanging out at the fair, doing rides, drinking a beer
and
like anything else. Hopefully,
it's
it
funny,
was a
like-
fat tire. I don't think they had a fat tire there.
I have my doubts.
There
Probably a
should be
bush
fat
light
tire
over there.
So yeah, he went to 2 years ago when I saw Vanilla Ice in Duluth. Rob Van Winkle put out Toby's in Hinckley. He's like, I had the best cinnamon roll I've ever had right there at Toby's. If you haven't had a cinnamon roll, you gotta go to Toby's and get a cinnamon roll.
Yeah. And I mean, I know kind of what he looks like, but I knew what he looked like then. You know what I mean? And so now he just looks like a tall dude with a bunch of tattoos. You know what I mean? Like he
Right.
doesn't look maybe a little out of place in Pine City to a certain extent, but not like, oh, this guy's a thing. You know what I mean?
Right.
Just more of a like, who's this joker? You know, something like that. But that's what even Trent said the same thing. You know, when I've talked to him, whatever. He's like, he's just a nice guy, but he knows him obviously. Like he's just good friends with him. Like
Right.
he was very good friends. Like I talked to him recently or whatever. He's like when Coolio died, well, like that actually hit him really hard because he knew him from a
Right,
lot of the
from
touring.
touring and stuff.
And so
yeah.
like he'd fly out and just visit him in Compton.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
oh,
and
so
he's like,
buddies.
yeah, he's like,
Oh,
I didn't
cool.
really want to all that often for a lot of reasons, but he's like, yeah, we just, hey, you want to fly out? He's like, all right, sir. So
Yeah, when Coolio says fly out, you should probably fly out and go hang out.
oh,
you know?
absolutely.
Like,
Well, why would you miss out on something like that?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's kind
What
of
a small world.
Exactly.
That is really cool. You still talk to Trent once in a while?
every so often, not super often. I'm not trying to play that like we're like besties or go
Sure.
way back or anything. But if I see him in public or something like that or whatever, like we'd be able to stop and have a conversation.
Oh, sure.
You know what I mean? Like I know that me and Adam at one point talked about trying to find a time to like go out to dinner with him or something, but
Sure.
he's so busy with stuff going on that it's
Right.
kind of how adult friendships and everything. Even us, like, it's kind of
Yeah.
like we're gonna get together for a beer for at some point in time, and like
2 years ago.
4 years later.
Hey, how about that beer? Oh, yeah, let's, we'll
Right.
figure it out soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean,
3
for
more
that,
years
yeah.
go by. Well, what happened?
Exactly.
Anyway, what's this question about gambling? We're getting
Oh yeah, that's right. Well, let's take we'll take the access road and get back onto the main highway here. So the reason I kind of go down that route or whatever is every so often, in addition to like the Mega Millions or stuff like that or whatever, hopefully the SEC or whoever it is that would AGE or whatever gambling enforcement doesn't come after me. But I like to bet like a $20 bill with my buddy Bondo on like the Twins or something. Not a game, but like for the whole season. You know what I
Sure.
mean? So it's not like we're not doing like heavy lifting here or anything like that. So come after me if you got it, but we're pretty much a wash at this point in time.
Andrew Jackson can be pretty heavy. you know.
Exactly. We get so we'll try to pick like above and over under for the year on wins or something like that. So we try to do something minor like that. But I was recently reading an article, and I don't know if you've seen this or you know where I'm headed with this or not. But there was a bookie that recently came out. And I don't remember the name of the bookie, but apparently he's a big deal, big time bookie. Somebody took a bunch of excerpts out of there, and there is a former professional athlete that had losses in the ballpark of $100 million
Wow.
and overall had bet in the area of $1 billion.
So I do know what you're talking about because I read the headline, but I didn't read about it.
Oh my God.
Phil Mickelson.
Phil Mickelson. He even tried to place allegedly, is what we'll qualify that with that, a bet in the ballpark of, I think it was like $440,000 or something on the, I believe it was the 2012 Ryder Cup, which he was playing in. But the bookie apparently told him, no, don't mess with your legacy. We're not going to play that game. So who knows if he actually still made that bet or not.
Right.
It's up to everybody's imagination. Phil has obviously came out and completely denied it all, but or whatever. But
What was that? 400 and how many thousand?
like 450 grand.
450 grand on a single bet?
Yep.
That is insane.
On the U.S. to win the Ryder Cup, which they actually ended up losing the Ryder Cup that year in a monumental comeback by the Europeans.
Oh man. How many Ryder Cups has USA won? They don't seem to win a whole lot, do they?
I think
Ryder Cups?
I think they won the last one. Europeans have dominated
Yeah,
it,
that's what I
for a
thought,
while. But
yeah.
I want to say I thought that they won the most recent one, if I remember correctly. And I want to say it was either this one or like the last two. They played very well and kind of ran away with the thing. But yeah, there was a period of time for probably 20, 30 years where maybe the U.S. only won one of them. I think dating back to, sometime in the 90s, they had like an exciting one, I think in Georgia or something that they won, that they were being ridiculed across Europe because they were like shaking beers off of like a balcony of the clubhouse or something after they won. And it's like,
I don't follow golf so much. I'm not a huge fan of golf, but that's what I remember before, is it always being the Europeans winning the Ryder Cup and the United States never being that great
right.
at it. Yeah, I'm just looking up how much Phil Mickelson is worth. Just out of curiosity, if you can bet $1 billion and stuff.
I feel like that's gone up and down quite a bit over the last handful of years, of course.
According to CelebrityNetWorth.com, he has a net worth of $300 million.
Well, I mean, I guess he is coming back and doing a bunch of promotional things, and the live is probably what's helping him because I think he got like $300 million from the Saudis to be part of that golf.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, and that doesn't seem to be going over so well.
No. But they apparently merged now with the PGA or something.
Oh,
Or some
I didn't
other.
read that. But
Yeah,
apparently they have a ton of money over there, though. But I suppose all that oil over there, you can
Yeah. Well, and
get what you want.
that's the big major controversy is, the Saudis are trying to like buy soccer clubs and buy all sorts of stuff they call it sports wash, where it's like, oh no, don't worry about all of our civil awful things and genocide and whatnot. Like, look at how good our soccer team is and
Right.
things like that. So it sounds like that's kind of what they're maybe trying to do. But yeah, no, I thought it was a kind of an interesting article that, like, I just couldn't fathom. I mean, obviously, if he lost 100 million, but he bet $1 billion, clearly he's won some in there because there's a $900 million swing on losses to whatever. But that's still like, you just can't even fathom.
That's just a ton of money.
I can't even fathom. But I guess to a certain extent, and I was listening to radio, somebody made the point the other day that like, if you bet $20, like you don't got nothing riding on it. You know what I mean? If you bet $100 on the outcome of this game or whatever, you don't come. You got to put some skin in the game to really actually get the high from it.
To make anything.
And so he's making like $200,000 to $500,000 bets. You know what I mean? Like.
Yeah, like anything, the old saying, it takes money to make money. Even when you bet, like I used to bet on Bodog.com, like $5 bets here and there just for the fun of it. You don't make squat on that, you know.
Yeah.
So, just like if you want to make money doing it, you got to spend a ton of money. But I suppose somebody like Phil Mickelson isn't too concerned about making money off betting. They're just doing it for the high and for the fun of it.
Exactly.
All the stories of Michael Jordan betting in Las Vegas all the time, huge sums of money. Out on the golf course, he bets like per hole, like $20,000 per hole,
Yep.
Well, Charles Barkley, he's been reportedly, bet tens of millions of dollars throughout his career, too, and losing it,
That's why he's still working for TNT.
Right.
Although I love him as a
I
commentator.
do, too.
Absolutely love that guy.
There's no filter on that
No,
guy. And
nothing whatsoever.
And he probably would have even less of a filter if he wasn't on like a national TV, and even though he still is, there's very little filter on him.
Right. Yeah, he's quite fantastic. That entire TNT crew is top notch. Really,
It is pretty good.
I
It's
don't,
one of
I don't
my
watch a ton of
favorites.
basketball regular season, especially, but I like basketball. But just the NBA is just so hard.
It's getting pretty rough.
It's so hard to watch anymore. Although it's starting to, I will admit, like, especially even the Wolves, like, it's starting to get a little bit better. It's starting to get a little bit more wide open. They're starting to move the ball a little bit more, but it got so ISO for so long.
I still can't stand it. Like, I hate watching the Wolves. I hate Karl Anthony Towns. I think he's a wuss. All he does is whine. Every play, he throws his hands in the air like, "Oh, I'm fouled. Oh, my gosh." Like, dude, shut up.
But he has changed the
You're
game.
in the NBA.
He has changed the way
that's right.
big men
Yeah.
play the game.
Yeah, he sure has. It's just ridiculous. Although I still do like the Timberwolves. I still do follow the Timberwolves. Did you happen to notice their new uniforms they come out
I
with
did.
this
I
year?
like those.
Those are pretty.
I think that's pretty
spiffy.
sweet. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it almost kind of looks like water or something on the top of the uniform. It's got like our state, like on the belt.
Yeah.
It says 10,000 lakes, like on the, like, I don't know what you'd call it, the cuff of the shorts.
Right. Yeah, it kind of blends a little almost. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a pretty sweet look that I seen. So, yeah. What else you got? That's kind of about what I got.
One last thing I'll throw at you for tonight. I just happened to come across this meme the other day about quarterbacks for the San Francisco 49ers. I mean, let's be honest. The first two that pop into your mind are going to be Joe Montana and Steve Young. I mean, name somebody before them. I can't. Don't have a clue. But anyways, the meme was about which quarterback. There's only one quarterback in San Francisco 49ers history that's thrown for 30 touchdowns in back-to-back years. Only one has done that.
If you're going to tell me that it was Jimmy Garoppolo, I'm going to throw like the full can of triple at you or something.
It is not Jimmy Garoppolo.
Colin Kaepernick?
It is not Colin Kaepernick. I was surprised by this.
Is it old? It's got to be newer.
It's newer than the Steve Young, Joe Montana.
Okay.
You'd think it would have been either one of those two.
Jeff Garcia.
It is Jeff Garcia.
There we go. Because I knew
believe
Jeff
that?
Garcia was good, but he always gets ragged on for being so bad.
So
but I thought he
bad.
was solid.
He was pretty decent,
He just wasn't.
He
that
had
was
a
the problem.
handful of good years. I mean, most of the time he was probably middle of the pack.
Yeah.
But those couple years in San Francisco, he was pretty top notch.
I think the biggest problem is that he was right after Steve Young, and he wasn't Steve Young. He could run
Right.
and he could throw a little bit, but he wasn't. And so I think he just got like, well, this guy's awful. Get him out of here. But it's like, well, he's still pretty good.
Right.
But
And then I thought another thing I wanted to share. This is more like of a did you know thing. It wasn't, it has nothing related to anything we're ever talking about on these podcasts, but it was just kind of interesting.
so you get the NBC, the more you know logo.
Yeah.
Like,
Right. It just came across when I was scrolling the social media, of course. And it was, did you know the average adult male only changes their sheets on their bed 4 times a year?
I mean, that sounds
Can you
probably,
believe
that probably
And
sounds,
it probably is accurate. It got me
Yeah.
thinking, back when I was single, I'm like, I don't think I ever changed my sheets, but I washed them once a month.
yeah.
But I
If
slept
it- yeah.
on my couch more than I did in my bed. So
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was not, like, and it was such a pain to do that, like just,
yeah, who wants to do that?
exactly.
But anyway,
Yeah,
I just
I mean,
thought that
that
was
makes
interesting.
sense.
And it's like, okay, just those stupid little did you know things. I'm like,
Right.
oh, okay. So,
Right on. Yeah. Well, now we're dropping more knowledge. We were dropping pearls of wisdom at the end or the beginning, and now,
that's
dropping some knowledge.
that's
here
the
at
wisdom
end, so.
after the fat tire can's almost gone. That's the stuff that comes out.
Exactly. Yeah.
Changing bed sheets.
Changing bed sheets. There we go. So yeah, a recap of the New Belgium beer. A little bit of that, a little bit of talk of that. Talked about Phil Mickelson a little bit, and I hope you enjoyed listening this week. Do you want a little brief preview of what we'll have next week for a beverage?
Yeah, next week we'll be reviewing old style beer out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. And interesting enough, it is coming back to La Crosse, Wisconsin. So we'll talk
I
about
like where
that
this
next
is
time.
headed. I
So
like
you're going to
it.
have to tune in. Unfortunately, you're going to have to tune in and listen to us again next week
Yep.
to hear all about old style.
Yeah, and if you like, share, and subscribe, and do all the things, we'd also appreciate
Yes,
that as well.
comment. Tell us what you think in the comments, good or bad. We want to hear it all, just so we
Mm-hmm.
can try to get a little better. So
And even just give feedback on what you think, what you would bet $450,000 on.
yes,
What would you feel confident enough to bet that amount of money?
and then deposit it in my bank account.
Exactly. I will bet you that you wouldn't do it. So, all right. I hope you enjoyed the episode, and we will see you again soon.
Thanks a lot, everybody. God bless.